Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday vlog where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, social media technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue, a little bit of a discussion outside of what is typically covered here on the channel. If this is your first time here, I'd like to welcome you. And if you are a frequent viewer, I'd like to encourage both of you guys right now to click on that watermark right there on the screen to subscribe, as well as clicking on that notification bell. That way you guys will know when the next Friday vlog is available, along with additional content that's here on the channel. In gaming news, we have a lot of gaming news. On February the 13th, we had the release and update patch notes for Battlefield 5. This will include combined arms, which will allow you and your friends, guildmates, clanmates to play together in kind of a solo mode of the game. This will also allow people to practice and hone their skills before they jump right into the game in and of itself. We also have Chapter 2 of Lightning Strike, Blitzkrieg in German, which will be released with that. I will include the patch notes down in the published section below, and I am looking forward to some of the fixes that they mentioned in there because, of course, some of these have been in there since day one, and some of these that have been kind of plaguing the game since then are now being addressed now, kind of, a little bit later in the patches, but nonetheless, I'm glad to see that that's happening. Also on Thursday, Valentine's Day, February the 14th, we had the release of Gathering Storm, the next new expansion for Civilization 6. I am very excited about it. Very happy to be reporting that we'll be covering the game. As a matter of fact, I have a link right here in the top left-hand corner. You guys can check out what will all be part of Civilization 6, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, I wanted to mention, when you go to my channel page, right there underneath the channel icon, you'll see a series of topics there: home, videos, playlist, and community tab. There in the community tab, I often will leave messages very similar to what you would see on Twitter or on Facebook. So if you guys want to check that from time to time, you're more than welcome to, because there'll be information there included in and of the channel. 3 weeks ago, Captain Zoe Capt was named to the F-16 Viper command team with the Air Force, and we learned this week that she has been relieved of her duties. Now, 3 weeks ago, this was kind of a big story. It was trending quite a bit in certain circles within the social media, because here we have a very attractive young female who's been named to a very prestigious position there in the Air Force with this F-16 Wing Command. However, this week we have learned that she has been relieved of her duties. Now, from the article, I did want to read, Colonel Derek O'Malley, 20th Fighter Wing Commander, relieved Captain Zoe Capt from command February the 11th due to a loss of confidence in her ability to lead and command the Air Combat Command F-16 Viper demonstration team. That's quite a mouthful. Reads a statement made by Colonel Alan Heritage, Director of Public Affairs at the Air Force's Air Combat Command. Now, it makes you wonder, was the Air Force kind of rushing to put someone in this kind of position? Is the military somehow now trying to jump on the culture, social, identity, politics type arena that we talk about each and every day? Now, I'm inclined to believe that the military probably isn't trying to make a big deal about this, or trying to get involved in what would be civilian type newsworthiness and so forth. I mean, this is kind of a big deal for her to be able to make that command. It's an honor for her to be able to do that. Now, I don't know if this how it was arranged or how it was situated, or even the full details, because they're probably not going to go into those, like why they felt that maybe she didn't have the command capability or the leadership capability to do this. I don't know, maybe it could have been her fellow captains, her fellow Air Force crewmates. It could be any number of different things, because the military, of course, follows a different code, a different line of ascension and how they cooperate and intermingle with each other. So it is kind of curious how that all happened, but it was kind of a big deal 3 weeks ago. But unfortunately, she's been relieved of her duties, and there's no further word from the Air Force in regards to this. But nonetheless, I thought it was kind of an interesting story. I wanted to share that with you. I come from an aviation family. My father was a pilot. I grew up in a community of airline people. Many of my father's friends are pilots, so this was kind of a big deal for them and kind of something they were discussing 3 weeks ago, and it was kind of making the rounds with social media. I just kind of want to bring it up because I thought it was kind of an interesting story. I'm not all that familiar with this particular demonstration team, but nonetheless, I wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. You can read about it. I will put a link down there in the published section below. On Tuesday, February the 12th, we had some breaking news right here, right up there. See that? From CBS News. 2 years of investigation, hundreds of hours, hundreds of interviews, all sorts of political and media drama. No collusion. Several weeks after the initial Mueller investigation started, individuals from some of the authorities, some of the particular authorities here in the United States, like the NSA, for example, said, really no evidence here about Russia being involved in any type of meddling whatsoever in our elections in the United States, which is very much protected. Let's just entertain the thought here. Let's just entertain this thought that came out. Maybe a handful, one or two, I think it was like maybe even, I think it was it 3 or 2 people had legally purchased ads on Facebook, like anyone else can do, that had some type of material concerning the elections, just kind of in a broader sense of the election cycle, right? They legally purchased this on Facebook, and this was like the whole downfall of Russian collusion right there. The Russians are interfering with the elections. That's ridiculous. Look at the time. How many of you, how many of my fellow Americans, how many times have you been watching the nightly news during during the times of an election? How many times every 7 to 13 minutes during the regular news cycle, starting at 5 o'clock all the way to 6, and then again at 10 and at 11, every 7 to 13 minutes, there is a political ad by the candidates. Tons of ads, tons of time, millions of dollars of investment in these candidates. And you're going to try to tell me that 2 Russians purchasing ads on Facebook, which anyone can do. There's people that I know who purchase ads for their businesses locally here on Facebook. And those 2 people are going to affect millions of people in the United States of America. Absolutely insane. We have talked about this several times, and I have mentioned this over and over again. This is the deep state's political theater. Donald Trump is an outsider. The man has nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. He could have stayed in his little tower with his private jets and his private security and his mingling among all sorts of people in the United States, all the big wigs, big shots, entertainers. He could have perhaps continued on with his NBC News show. He could continue traveling around the world. He wouldn't have to worry about extra protection around his Trump towers or any of the other things that he has going on with himself. The man is a billionaire. He didn't have to take the job, but he took it. And for all intents and purpose, he is achieving and succeeding, and the media and his detractors can't stand it because he has influence. If you saw any of the reports that came out after the State of the Union address, his approval rating was gigantic. Now, of course, there were many Democrats that just ignored it, didn't want to see it, and that's fine. They don't have to do that. But when they want to discuss the topics, they're going to have no excuse if they don't know what the material was or how it was presented or what was outlined. And that's kind of why I follow even detractors and all these other individuals, is because I want to know all the information that's out there. Now, keep in mind here that there really was no mystery to this. And there's something very important that I want to point out here. First, once Mueller officially releases this, you're going to hear the media say their regular gut punch stuff like, well, what was really going on Okay, and that's to suggest that there's more to this than has actually been revealed, or there was some underhanded activity that went on that didn't allow Mueller to complete his investigation, or that there would have been more information had this, that, or the other happened. The other thing that they're going to say that's going to be the gut punch is, what does this mean? What do you mean, what does it mean? It means very easily, very simple. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna kind of paraphrase from the article itself, and that is that they didn't find any facts to substantiate that there was any Russian collusion. Now, it's important to point out here, anytime you read any of these stories about the Mueller investigation, I want you to remember two words: no indictment. No indictment on President Trump. Now you could say, oh, Paul Manafort, or what was it, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen, Roger Stone, has nothing to do with Trump, has nothing to do with Russian collusion, has nothing to do with the election, nothing. You guys see this now, right? I hope everyone can see this. You can see this. These individuals had nothing to do with Russian collusion at all, nothing. They've investigated this exhaustively. 2 years. The FBI, with all the other agencies in the United States, could not compile the information that would have led to a conviction or indictment of the President of the United States. What was this? What have we talked about? This is the carrot on the stick that the mainstream media was using to rile up its base, to rile up all the Trump detractors, to make them think that at any moment, any day, any week, Trump was going down. And even if they draw up articles of impeachment, it's not even gonna make it to the Senate. It won't even pass the House. It's got to have 2/3 votes from the House, 2/3 from the Senate, and then the Vice President has to approve it. Not gonna happen. And the thing that I want to point out here is all these individuals, we've talked about this before, think about this. All these individuals who have gone after Trump have had all their efforts backfire in their face. All these Trump detractors, celebrities, even media, even these social pundits, and all these individuals have had to retract things they've said, step back things they said, apologize, or just get completely shut down by individuals in general to kind of shun them off into obscurity, and they don't say anything anymore. They'll continue to try to insult and undermine and berate the president because they don't like the man. They don't like the man. And every common sense human being in the United States and perhaps the world can clearly see that when you go after somebody with negativity, with hate in your heart, you will not succeed. You will not accomplish what you want to accomplish. And right now, when I look at the field of candidates that they have out of the Democrats, we have Tulsi Gabbard, we have Julian Castro, we have Kamala Harris, we have Christine Gillibrand, as well as Cory Booker. Now, what do those three have in common? Those three sit on the Judiciary Committee. You remember them? They were the ones that were going after Brett Kavanaugh and trying to ruin the man's life, knowing full well that this was not a jury trial. This was political theater, just like the Mueller investigation. You guys remember the name of the female that he sexually harassed? Remember her? You probably don't. Her name was Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. Okay? Dr. Ford. They put a doctor in front of it to give it that much more of an impact. Pure political theater. And then I really don't see, I mean, we recently heard about, was it Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks? And then we have, of course, Elizabeth Warren, who just came in, and she probably has the most name recognition behind her. But nonetheless, you know, she kind of did herself in when she took up on Trump's challenge when she had her DNA test done. She pretty much flattened herself out. There's not going to be anything there. Now, the thing that's left is maybe if Joe Biden enters the race. But the problem with Joe Biden is he's old and he's white. Okay? Just the very stereotypical person that the progressives want to avoid. Right now, the Democrats are in a dumpster fire. Look what's going on in Virginia. Unreal what's going on within the Democratic Party. I mean, regardless of, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, despite all of her excitement and jubilance that she's doing, the Democrat Party is just in a dumpster fire right now. And this week, we're going to see whether or not they work out a deal with the president on the border wall. Because when when he compromised the other day, everybody said, oh, he caved. No, he compromised. And the reason he did it was because when this comes up on Thursday, or when it comes out on Thursday, he can simply say, hey, look, you know, I compromised. I was willing to come to the table. I was willing to negotiate. I brought back, you know, all the jobs for the federal workers who were shut out. Now it's their turn to do what they're supposed to do. And he can just say, look, you know, the Democrats are the ones who are going to be responsible for any kind of a shutdown. Plain and simple. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you right now, when you have hate in your heart, when you are filled with rage, when you are filled with angst, when you are angry, when you are loathing, and you try to go after somebody, you will not be successful. You will not be successful. Common sense people will see that you're just a miserable person, and you're full of angst and you're full of hate, and they're not going to want anything to do with you, and they're not going to listen to your message. Guys, I know I went on a bit of a rant this week, but nonetheless, I wanted to let you guys know about that. I will leave a link to that CBS report in the published section below, because we're going to get more information coming out probably here in the next few days and next few weeks. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. I know I went on a bit of a rant there, but nonetheless, I wanted to share that bit of information with you guys with a bit of passion and enthusiasm, because sometimes it just can be really absurd that what people try to get away with, or what they try to tell society and how we should function as a society. And I just think it's just absurd and ridiculous and unnecessary. But nonetheless, guys, I want to thank you so much for your continued support, your likes, shares, and comments. And of course, you can click on that icon there, the channel icon appearing right there on the screen, to subscribe, along with clicking that notification bell so you guys will know when the next Friday vlog is available, as well as additional content here on the channel. And I will see you guys next Friday.